Greetings and welcome to episode 55 of CultureWatch Radio. I'm Mark Raby and with me is Bill Muhlenberg. Good day to you, Bill.
Hey, Mark.
And we have a very special guest joining us today who has been in the public eye for a very long time. Bill, do you want to tell us who it is?
Yes, well, this series of podcasts has often just been one-on-one, me and the host, but lately we've been doing a third party, bringing in special guests. My passion is to simply give honor to whom honor is due, to acknowledge some of the great champs who've been fighting the good fight. So we've done some of the newer or younger people who've been doing this, but I'm also trying to get all the, if I can say it, some of the older champs, those who've been around for a long time, who've been fighting the good fight, and really deserve a lot of credit because we're kind of standing on their shoulders and we're following on from them. So yeah, today we have a very special guest indeed with Reverend Fred Nile. Welcome, Fred.
Yes, I'm pleased to be here, Bill.
Well, it's great to have you, and we do have a few questions for you that we'd like to hear from you. So I guess the first thing we can say is, as many would know, you've been around for a while. You've been a member of the New South Wales Legislative Council since 1981.
Yes,
that's a
40
long
years.
time.
40 years.
A long time, yeah. So do you have some memories of those very first days, the very early days when you first were in? Anything you'd like to share?
Well, it was a challenge to actually get elected in the first place and to be a member of the Legislative Council in the upper house. And I then felt it necessary to pray and ask God to guide me onto my agenda. And there were a number of issues that I was very concerned about. And one was the health of people. And I've always been a non-smoker. And I believe that smoking causes great harm. In fact, my father died of lung cancer from smoking. So I've had a deep interest in the health issue of smoking. And so I introduced a series of bills to prohibit smoking in public places. So you won't see people smoking in bars and other places now. Also, a prohibition on advertising of cigarettes. So you don't see the big billboards anymore. My bill prohibited advertising of cigarette products. So that was some of the my first engagement, you could say, with public issues and public health issues, which was successful.
So it sounds like, Fred, you certainly can remember one of the early victories. What else is there? What is probably one or two of your most memorable wins over the 40 years?
Well, the other area of my concern related to our Aboriginal brothers and sisters. I have a great deal to do with the Aboriginal community, and I felt it important that to have a bill which supported the Aboriginal community. And I was very pleased when the bill was passed, which recognised Aboriginal land rights in New South Wales. In other words, it provided for Aboriginal communities that they could put in a claim on land as long as they could show their successive occupation of that land for a lengthy period of time. And if they could then put in a claim for that land, and that would be upheld by a tribunal, and they would then be given the rights to that land, to farm on it, develop it, and so on. So I was very pleased to help our Aboriginal brothers and sisters, and that helped make me a hero with the Aboriginal people and gave me great recognition of the Aboriginal communities about the work that I was doing in Parliament.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we could spent a long time here with all your input, all your victories, all the good you've done over these decades. But, well, this is politics, so there's not only wins and victories. Sometimes there's losses and defeats as well. I suppose you've had a few of those. Are there one or two things that you didn't win or didn't get over the line that you can share with us here?
Yes, I was very pleased to get a bill put through the Parliament, which I based on the name of a baby who died, a stillbirth baby, in a car accident with its mother, obviously. And I called that bill Zoe's Bill, after the baby's name. And it's taken me a long time. I've been fighting to get that bill passed, and I'm pleased it was passed by the Legislative Council only recently. So it's now become a law protecting and giving rights to the unborn baby.
So that's sort of one that got up. Is there anything that is in the background that you have been fighting for that you haven't seen get up at this point that you would want to see?
Well, I'm still very concerned about abortion and try to have restrictions on abortions. And sadly, my efforts to prohibit abortions completely have not been successful. So that there have been restrictions, but not a total prohibition on abortions. And in fact, there's a big push at the moment by the abortion lobby to even go further than they have in the past years. So that's one of the issues that I'm very concerned about, where I can't claim 100% victory.
So I'm sure you've that's probably one area, but not the only area where you've copped a lot of hate and abuse over the years. How, after some time, you must some of that must get to you, or how do you deal with that that kind of thing?
Well, I'm a pretty stoic Christian. I believe in God, I believe in prayer, and I believe the Lord is with me. And so I can handle criticism, attacks, and I just ask the Lord to be with me in those situations, and He does give me encouragement and support spiritually through the Holy Spirit. So I can cope with those attacks and defeats and criticism with the Lord.
But of course, we do have a federal election coming up in May, probably. And just wondering, I know a lot of Christians, a lot of conservatives are a little bit disappointed with Scott Morrison and the Liberals. Kind of wondering, well, is there much to choose from the main two federal political parties? Not sure if you have any thoughts on the election and where the two main parties are at today.
Well, I know you phrased it in a certain way, Bill, but to me, there's no comparison between the Labor Party and the coalition parties, Liberal and National Party, with their policies. And I don't think we should put them into the same box as if they're similar. They're not. There's dramatic differences between the Labor Party and the coalition. And we need to pray for the re-election of the coalition government when it comes to the next major election. I know there's a lot of criticism of the Prime Minister, Mr Morrison, and he has done some silly things, but then he's just a human being, he's not perfect. And you're under a lot of pressure when you're involved in politics, and sometimes you make errors of judgment. And Mr Morrison made a few of those, but I believe on the adding up all his pros and cons, that he's still way in front of the Labor Party, Mr Albanese, and his policies. If we have a choice, I pray the people of New South Wales will re-elect the Morrison government. The Prime Minister is an active Christian. He's been very involved with his own local church, and I believe he's sincere and genuine, and therefore he deserves our prayers and our support. I emphasise our prayers because no one's perfect and everyone needs God's help. So let's pray for Mr. Morrison as they come up to the election, that he will see God's will and God will guide and direct him to make the right decisions for the benefit of the people of New South Wales.
And also those of Australia. Well, I would like to know, what advice would you give to a Christian seeking to get into politics, or perhaps just wanting to be politically informed? Might make this our last question too.
Well, I think it's very important, and I had to establish this principle when I first got elected, because I was elected under a Labor government and under a Labor Premier, Bob Carr, who was very critical of me and was attacking me left, right and centre. And in fact, when I was elected, he gave about a 40-minute speech attacking me in the state parliament because he was so irritated by the fact that not only was I there, but I'd been re-elected. And I think it's important. You've got to have a thick skin. You'll come under criticism, and you have to pray for God to give you wisdom and discernment that you can keep going. And so I prayed. It's easy to sort of fall into the trap where you're just simply anti-Labor. I tried to study the Labor Party as to what policies did they have that had some merit, and what policies I could support, in fact, so that I would not be seen as someone who's just simply anti-Labor, but carefully choosing the issues and standing on those issues. And in some cases, obviously the Labor Party had merit in what they were proposing. And when that happened, I would then quite openly support the Labor Party on that issue, which sometimes surprised me because they had adopted an attitude that, the coalition, the Liberal Party, never support us on any issue. And they were surprised when Fred Nile and the Christian Democratic Party actually supported the Labor Party on some of their initiatives that were positive and had benefit for the people of New South Wales. And that helped to create an acceptance, you might say, where I was not seen to be the enemy, but someone that the Labor Party could work with and bring about progressive policies in New South Wales.
Well, we're very grateful indeed to have Fred with us. I know you're a busy man. You got plenty to do, so to take time out to join us has been a real blessing, and I know it'll be an encouragement to many, especially all the new and young Christians out there, those thinking about political futures, careers, and so on, just to learn from you, to see you as an example, to see that you can be a Christian. You can hold to your principles. You can be true to the Lord and yet be an effective politician, make a difference, have an impact for Christ and the kingdom and for the good of Australia. Fred, you've been a champion for so long, so we just thank you very much indeed, and God bless you for your great and faithful service.
Well, thank you, Bill, for your encouragement and for what you've been doing for many, many years. And so my last word would be to people who are interested in politics, join the Christian Democratic Party and get involved in politics and become a candidate.
All right. Well, thank you both for today's episode. There's more at the Culture Watch website. We'll see you again next time with another episode of Culture Watch Radio.